For over a century, Detroit has been in the driver's seat when it comes to developing the car of tomorrow. But Silicon Valley is threatening southeastern Michigan's leadership like never before, especially when it comes to the self-driving technology that's poised to revolutionize mobility. But can the region leverage its unique advantages to continue to lead in transportation? We're already well down the road on the path to autonomy and the connected car, and yet we're not even sure what that means for motorists and pedestrians, for automakers, for law enforcement, for the elderly, for society as a whole. Smart, self-driving cars stand to be the single biggest shift in transportation since Henry Ford put a nation on wheels, and nobody knows how or even if it's all going to work. That's why car makers, tech companies, telecoms, government officials, insurance providers, and even anthropologists have come here to MCity, part of the University of Michigan's Mobility Transformation Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And that's why we're here.
MCity is, if you will, the laboratory of, one of the laboratories of MTC. And we also, when we looked at the technology, we realized that it's really not that simple. And there is a lot of activity that needs to go to ensure safe deployment. We wanted to be able to test these technologies, but before we test them on the public roads with, if you will, unknowing test participants, the public, we felt it was more prudent to test them here. And we needed a place where we could test them that was realistic, something like that they would really see in the real world, yet was safe, was controlled.
For once, Michigan's wildly varying weather is actually an advantage. Engineers here can intentionally schedule their tests to coincide with snowstorms, for instance, and you can't do that in Mountain View or Cupertino.
This facility is a bit different than our normal proving grounds because we can set up scenarios here that we normally wouldn't set up, and that are things that we would look for on real-world traffic. And we can repeatedly stage scenarios here, one right after another, that you might only see once in a great while in the real world.
This may look like a movie set, but it's actually a living laboratory. And what's playing out here is the future of transportation. Beyond actually making cars capable of talking to each other and driving themselves, there's still so much to figure out. How will an autonomous car react when a policeman on foot waves it through an intersection? How will it see a stop sign that's been newly covered in graffiti? These are all basic questions about how the connected car of the future will interact with the infrastructure, with other vehicles, and with pedestrians.
It's about how is this going to change our interaction with our customers, how is this going to change the customer's interaction with the vehicles, possibly the ownership model, and again, assuming we have connected and automated vehicles, now what does that really mean?
MCity and its participants won't comment on specific job growth numbers. However, it's clear that this facility's existence will be a good recruiting tool to draw engineering talent to the area, and not just for the university.
When you think about some of the problems that we're trying to solve, a lot of this comes down to trying to attract some of the brightest and most smartest students and people to work on some of these really hard problems. Having a facility like this that is unique in the world allows us to basically really excite a lot of the next generation of engineers and get them in here and wanting to work on these problems.
No other place has the attention to detail, the completeness of roadway scenarios, the extensive communication network.
The roads are built to code, and even the movable buildings are built like real buildings in order to faithfully mimic how a vehicle's LiDAR and radar sensors will see them in the real world. Some key MCity metrics. It has hundreds of vehicle usage scenarios contained in just 32 acres. That's not much larger than the parking lot of a decent-sized shopping center. Everything from common road situations like four-way stops and merging on-ramps to interstates, a mix of road surfaces and roundabouts. There's 5 miles of roads, including a railroad crossing. The whole place is oriented perfectly north-south to accurately test GPS systems. It's important to note that MCity's roads don't look super futuristic. This isn't about an idealistic vision of what our transportation network should look like. It's about what America's streets look like right now, because we won't have the luxury of completely rebuilding our roads to accommodate driverless cars. Heck, we can't even afford to maintain the system we have today. Autonomous cars will have to adapt to our legacy infrastructure.
The technology to truly create a fully automated vehicle is still quite significant in terms of the computational power and sensors that need to be on the vehicle. So I don't know that we're going to see that within this decade, of course, on vehicles that are an affordable type vehicle. So again, this is one of the big questions that again we're looking at within MTC. What are really the business models that are going to be seen moving forward and are going to be viable in terms of the cost versus the customer benefit and how customers interact with the vehicle?
There are so many stakeholders trying to make sense of what the future of the autonomous car will look like. Car makers, law enforcement, insurance companies, tech companies, and they're all going to have to figure out just how to interact with each other in entirely new ways and figure out what this changing landscape means for their business.
We realized quite early that a future transportation system is today's transportation system plus a lot more. So today you think about there's vehicles, there's roads, and there's people. But there will also be data and communications networks, and there'll be immense value in data. Certainly for a vehicle manufacturer or a parts supplier, if they want to monitor how their vehicle or their part is doing in the real world, data coming off these vehicles will be very useful. But also for a road operator. If you're the city of Ann Arbor or the state of Michigan and you operate a road network, you would love to know how clogged, how congested it is. You would love to know where the traffic is in this, and you'd love to know what the weather conditions are. So that data is going to become very important.
MCity also figures to be good business. It's cost around $10 million to build, but it already has 15 founding Leadership Circle members, each of whom has pledged $1 million over 3 years. Plus, they've got almost 40 affiliate partners, all contributing $150,000 over 3 years. That's just good math.
The data is the most common thread amongst these companies from these various different sectors. Everybody wants the data, again, showing how the vehicle is performing, but also data would inform an insurance strategy or an insurance decision.
All of our old assumptions about the way we get from place to place will have to be looked at closely, and more often than not, re-envisioned. It's a daunting task, and the only way that these problems will be identified and solved is collaboratively, in a place like this. MCity isn't just an environment where different companies are renting time at this facility and keeping their conclusions to themselves. They're sharing what they've learned with each other, with rivals, with the government, with academia, because in order to rewrite the automotive rulebook, everybody's got to buy in.
We know it's very valuable. We use it every day. It's been very, I'd say, highly utilized in the last 5 months since it's been open.
Others see the value of MCity too. Officials tell me that they've already had requests to copy the facility in Korea, China, and Europe.
Detroit has literally 100 years of experience in proving out technology. If you think about where we started 100 years ago, you know, remember vehicles had hand cranks, no power steering, no automatic transmissions. Those seem like trivial examples now, but at their time, they were significant new technologies that needed to be proven out. Detroit, Southeast Michigan, is really the most comprehensive place, I would say, in the world where all of this activity, all of this expertise comes together. MCity is like, it's a stake in the ground, if you will.
Perhaps more than at any time since the dawn of the car industry, the future of mobility is up in the air. Not only are the key parties involved grappling with finding the answers, they're still figuring out what the right questions to ask are. For autonomous cars to succeed, it's going to take a myriad of different factions and businesses to work together. And that's exactly the collaborative spirit that the University of Michigan has fostered here. Realizing the connected, self-driving car of tomorrow isn't just going to take a village, it's going to take an MCity.